Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming live on Facebook, broadcasting from the illustrious studios of WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago in the great neighborhood of Jefferson Park. This is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. It's yours truly, Jerry Riles. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you love him. He's not over at Wrigley Field. He's not on the rooftops over there. He's not at Comiskey Park or the Guarantee Rate Field. He's not. No, he's in studios, ladies and gentlemen. You love him. And before we're out of here, no question about it, I'm sure we're going to get an opportunity to hear his point of view as far as high school football is concerned, being pushed to the spring. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the one. He's the only. He's the marvelous one. He's Dan Marver. Yeah. What's up, Marver? How are you, buddy?
It's nice and wet today.
Hey, take it easy.
Outside. And, I actually enjoyed the Blackhawks game yesterday. They won a game in Edmonton. It was pretty cool. And the Cubs just won a game, so things are underway. I'm just, the Marlins and the Phillies, it looks like it's going the way we thought, where it's going to be tough to finish the season, but we shall see.
Yeah, we shall certainly see. And you know what? It's interesting. We'll get an opportunity to talk Major League Baseball. If you want to join in, our number here is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, the fastest hour in sports conversation. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, and of course, the marvelous one, Lauren Cox is en route. Hey, let me say this. Lauren, drive safely. I know you're certainly listening to us as you're driving in from the downtown Chicagoland area, the beautiful city of Chicago. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be safe. I want you to be careful out there. Of course, the marvelous one wants to make sure you guys all and girls stay in one piece. But, the Cubs were able to get the conclusion of the game there. There was a short rain delay over at the friendly confines, and they were finally able to get the game completed, and they come away with a victory.
A sweep.
They come away with a victory, so that was very good. But as I was driving in, Marvelous, and I'm sure you experienced it as well, the rains were coming down.
Oh, yeah. Well, they had a rain delay of 1 hour and 2 minutes, I believe, and they were able to complete the game with the funky second base runner in the extra innings.
Yeah, I'm still not used to or comfortable with that.
Well, I know on the radio, Pat Hughes was struggling with how to do a scorebook.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are struggling on how to, I guess do their scorecard because it's just different. Sure. There's no question about it. And for purists, baseball purists out there, you want things to remain, normal and want things to remain the same. But unfortunately, everything is affected by this pandemic, this COVID-19. But I do have to say this, man. The rain was coming down. Now, I went to church today. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I went over to St. Joseph the Worker. We stream on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're a Catholic and you miss Mass, you want to go to St. Joseph the Worker in Wheeling or the YouTube page or the Facebook page, you certainly can check out today's Mass. But went out to breakfast with the family and everything over at Granny's in there, over in Wheeling. And then, I went home and started preparing for the show and making calls and doing everything, getting ready for the show. So I'm sitting out on the deck, and I got the computer going. I got my phone. I got everything, placed and got my tea and everything. Sun was shining, and suddenly it started to sprinkle. So I take all of my belongings inside, and then lo and behold, the sun came back out. And I'm sitting out there enjoying everything. White Sox, congratulations to the White Sox with the sweep over the Kansas City Royals this weekend. Great performance by the boys. And I tell you, those bats are coming alive. They are hot, and they are coming alive. Yeah. But suddenly the clouds opened up, and the rain came down, man. It's just flood. Now, marvelous. Here's the disappointing thing. Here's the bad thing. When I'm driving home from breakfast at Granny's over there in Wheeling, I got the sunroof up because it's hot and the sun is on. Hey, it's Sunday, nice and easy, getting ready. I'm pumped up. I'm all good.
Easy like Sunday morning.
Easy like Sunday morning. Well, that was only for a short spell because the rain spell came in. I parked the car outside on the street Normally I put it in the garage. I had it on the street there, Marvelous, with the sunroof open. The rain came down.
I know the punchline. I know the punchline.
And I forgot, silly me. I'm so, and I'm just enjoying the beautiful weather. And of course, the rain came down. So I'm panicking, getting on my computer and everything in the house. I forget that the sunroof is open. So I get ready to leave. I go, oh my God, it's coming down in buckets. I go, oh my God, my sunroof is open. My daughter goes, I love her to death. My daughter's sitting there. She goes, oh yeah, I saw the sunroof open. I go, what? I go, are you kidding me? I go, I love you, Teresa. You're the best. I love you. I go, but when you see something, you got to say something. She goes, well, I went to sleep. Hey,
you probably need an interior car wash anyway.
Well, thank goodness I got the leather interior and I got the cloth and everything, so I wiped everything down and it was all good. But she went to sleep. I go, hey, Teresa, come on now. If it's your car, I guarantee you would have ran. She said, well, hey, it's not a big deal to me. But yeah, so we made it in. We're all good. Talk about we made it in and we're all good. It's good to see her lovely, her talented, her beautiful face, and I think she might have a little bit an extra edge for the show. But ladies and gentlemen, she's in studio. She's the one. She's the only. You love her. She's the fabulous Lauren Cox. What's up, Lauren? How are you?
I'm good. It was a rainy drive in, that's for sure. It was like flooding downtown. So I'm like,
really?
Why is it this much flooding for not that much rain? It was bizarre.
No, it was a lot of rain.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, it was a lot of rain.
Yeah, it came down.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's been raining all day.
Yeah. I thought I needed a canoe to clean out my car.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah. But the good thing is the lawn got watered.
And the flowers and
everything got watered. And they say this upcoming week the temperatures are going to be pleasant in the lower to mid 70s.
Okay.
With some rain. So, that's good, Marvelous. But how you doing, Lauren?
Good. Staying corona free.
Yeah.
Happy that sports are back, and it's just so much going on with sports.
Yeah, certainly a lot just going on.
It's about time.
It is about time because it's just comfortable and it's really, really cool just to sit back and watch a Cub game, watch a Sox game, watch the NBA games unfold.
Yeah.
Even a little bit of the WNBA, but it's just.
Why are you always so shady towards the WNBA? Why do you do that?
I'm not a big fan.
Just don't even say that.
Why?
We don't even want to hear you say that you're not a big fan. Like, no.
Wait a minute.
We're getting behind the
Lauren,
WNBA.
you know our motto: real sports, real talk, just plain real. And we're being real here.
Those girls can play. Did you see one of the players got into it with Andre Iguodala? Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Paint a picture for us, Lauren Cox.
Basically, he said 23 was nice as opposed to her name. And, her name was Powers, I believe. And she just went off on him basically and said, I got a name and this is why, we're not respected at the WNBA. And, I'm paraphrasing a bit. But anyway, they started to put Andre's past posts where he said he didn't want his daughter playing for the WNBA because he didn't want her to be a lesbian. Ooh. So why
would he say something like that?
Good question. Keep it real sports. Why would he say something?
773-763 WCTT. If you got an answer,
Yeah, he said that. So then, they brought that back up, and he couldn't win that battle after that.
Can you pull up that on your computer there, Marvelous One? So Andre Iguodala said, I don't want my daughter playing in the WNBA because there's too many lesbians.
And he doesn't want her to be a lesbian. Yeah. That's what he said.
Wow.
Okay.
Very interesting.
That's very, very interesting, especially with everything that's going on as far as equality and social injustice and systemic racism, and everything that the NBA and WNBA have done. Adam Silver is doing a fabulous job of trying to bring unity together.
Yes.
And it's really interesting that a player is speaking out against a fellow, and I use the word loosely, but somewhat of a colleague, a partner in this big brand as far as the NBA is concerned. Because the NBA and Adam Silver is really, the changes that they've made over the past year, especially prior to the pandemic, is phenomenal regarding elevating the WNBA to a more respectable league and equality for the women and the players.
Yes.
And then as far as pay is concerned, as far as paternity leave is concerned, I mean, the NBA and Adam Silver has done a fantastic job of trying to bridge the gap even before the pandemic. So you would expect and think at the end of the day, and I understand Andre Iguodala's position and his concern, but sometimes you just keep things to yourself, okay? You just keep things to yourself.
Say it again.
And it's a matter of you working together to build a brand, because at the end of the day, it is a livelihood for these women.
Yes.
Just like it is for the men. It's a livelihood. And despite how you may feel about it, you've got to I would imagine you would have to respect it and support it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't necessarily agree with it. Because at the end of the day, again, it's a matter of these.
Why would you agree with it?
Because he doesn't. There are people.
Well, no, I'm not saying him. I thought you were saying in terms of the WNBA.
Yeah, he's made that comment in 2016. Is what I'm just finding. You know, the comment it was a while ago. And at the time he had a 6-year-old daughter, and he tried to clarify it a bit by it's a 4-year-old quote. That's why I couldn't find it right away.
No, it's
so this is what it was. Former Spartan, current WNBA star Ariel Powers to Andre Iguodala. Put some respect on my name. Because he tweeted, number 23 from the Mystics is nice. She told him, that was the tweet that he tweeted out. Ariel responded and said, put some respect on my name or keep this tweet to yourself. And then...
But what was so?
Well, you know the WNBA, they are.
She had an attitude.
I mean,
but they're just tired of being disrespected.
But you just said number 23 is pretty good.
But they said she was saying that if it was male sports, they would have known his name.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's how she felt.
Well, I think she needs
and I think his past has a lot to do with it.
It may have a lot to do with it, but I think, here's the thing. Regardless of whatever profession you're in.
Honestly, but that's what it is. It's the past. Like, he's got a history of saying inappropriate, foul stuff. So then when he tweeted that out, what you think now? Oh, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. No, he's got a history of saying foul stuff. He fouled.
But it's
that's why she called him out.
No, she's got to relax. She's got to relax. In my opinion. Because Lauren, you're talking about
that was wrong.
Was it?
Yeah, that was wrong.
He just said
No, I'm saying his previous comments
from 4 years ago.
Marvelous?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Still said it.
From 4 years ago, I mean, obviously that comment was no good, but number 23 is nice of the Mystics. I mean, it's like he doesn't know her name, I guess, is the point, that he's disrespecting her. But I obviously had no respect for the players to begin with 4 years ago, so so nothing's changed.
Yeah, here's the deal. I don't know. I don't care if you're talking about the players in the NBA, if you're talking about players in the playground. And a lot of people, and you can look at the ratings as far as the WNBA is concerned. Not too many people pay too much attention to the WNBA. 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, not many people paid much attention to the WNBA because the word on the street really is the fact that a lot of people don't want to, after you're watching the most elite athletes in the world playing above the rim, when you talk about the NBA, most people on the street, when you ask them, don't want to see a bunch of women running around playing below the rim. Mm-hmm. That's the perspective, and that's the truth on the streets. And you know this.
But
you know this. Nobody wants to see a woman running up and down this court.
Do your daughters play basketball?
No, they did not.
Okay, mine did. So I have a little different perspective, I guess, because I thought, you don't see, the post play and everything else that you see in the men's game, but
yeah.
I got to enjoy it, obviously, following my daughter, so I have a little bit more appreciation, maybe.
Listen, I love women's sports. I at one time said my daughters were in gymnastics, right? Since they were like, little girls, 6 years old. They love it. I knew about gymnastics, but not as much as I knew about, the main sports. Basketball, football, whatever. But I learned to love the sport because they were involved. Basketball, I respect women in anything they do. I say, hey, listen, I wish that if I come back in my second life, that I could be a 12-year-old girl, the gymnast. Because the things that they do, it's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. And somebody said, Jerry, why would you want to come back to be a 12-year-old boy? I go, because women gymnasts, and to me, it's speechless what they're capable of doing. And Simone Biles, God bless her. Yeah. Oh my God.
And you would have seen all that.
She's an alien.
And you would have seen all that in Tokyo under other circumstances.
Simone Biles she's an alien.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend how she's able to do what she's capable of doing in such a controlled manner. Listen, I love Michael Jordan. Everyone knows that. Simone Biles, in my opinion, as an athlete, she's got him beat.
I said
she's got him beat. She is unbelievable. So I said, hey, you know what? If I come back in my second life, I want to be a 12-year-old girl and be able to not a 12-year-old girl, a 12-year-old female gymnast.
Yeah, but then you'll have to go through the teen years.
No, marvelous. I just want to be a gymnast. I want to be a 12-year-old female gymnast because the things that the women do, and no offense to the male gymnasts, they're phenomenal in what they do as well. The pommel horse and the rings. I mean, my arms are big as they are, without doing that. Just imagine, Laura, just imagine if I was really doing it.
Oh my God.
But women, female gymnasts, they're unbelievable athletes. I dated a basketball player back in my younger years, and I respect women playing basketball because it's a skill set that is, to reach that level, you have to be very, very good and very, very talented. But as far as mainstream America is concerned, and on the playgrounds, most people don't want to see women at the highest level. They don't want to watch them play basketball because most guys say, hey, I can do half the things that they're doing, which isn't true, but that's the perception.
No, that's ridiculous. You guys have to, people are starting to tune in more, and the NBA is definitely understanding their part. You see a lot of the players had on the orange shirts, orange shirts, bringing awareness to the WNBA. And, you have your new stars that are coming along. I definitely think that.
But most people don't even know who the stars are in the WNBA.
Well,
really, marvelous.
Everybody knows.
Sabrina. Is well known, I think.
Yeah, that's one.
And she's out. Sabrina's out for
Griner is known too, I think, among others. But
that's the point. That's the point.
So you don't think it's starting to get more interest?
No.
Oh, come on, Jerry.
I'm just being honest.
Yes, we're talking about it. Hey, we talk about it every week, whether you want to or not. So I think we are starting to get more.
Nobody.
Yeah, we're talking. Hey.
Listen, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes, I will continue to bring it up.
Well, just take it easy. Just take it easy.
See?
But as far as your perspective on, let's go to the men now. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
Marvelous.
Yes.
Let's talk about the men. No offense to the women.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
I love women. I think you guys are fantastic.
I'm sure you do.
I'll tell you what the NBA as it is this week looks to me like the Proviso West Holiday Tournament or something, all on one site, which is kind of with no fans. And so it's not the same thing, obviously. And what they've done is they have the standings as it was, and each team's going to play about 8 games. It's not going to change the standings much. It's still going to be Milwaukee, Boston, Toronto, L.A., Clippers, Lakers at the end of it. So, they're doing the best they can with an impossible situation in all the sports, actually. I say it'll be amazing if any of them get to the conclusion. But the ones in a bubble have a better chance. It looks like baseball made a mistake by not doing the Florida-Arizona plan. Well, where they would have been all in one place.
Yep.
In the spring training sites.
Right. But sidebar to that, the one reason why they didn't do it is the fact that these players are going to be tied up in Arizona, and we see exactly what's happening with the numbers as far as COVID is concerned in Arizona. They're shooting out the roof.
Florida's where the NB and WNBA is. So
they're in a bubble though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They could do a bubble in Arizona and Florida.
Well, I don't know how they, and that's not the problem. The bubble is really not the problem. It's what these players, and it's suspect in the first place as far as baseball is concerned, because you go home, and who knows whoever you come in contact with, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend. They're blaming on the
Marlins. They're like, the Marlins are destroying the whole season.
That's the thing. In Arizona, actually, the spring training sites, if they went to their own sites, they're all in Phoenix, Scottsdale, whatever. It's all pretty close. So that would have worked. Florida would have been a bigger problem because the Florida spring training sites are more spread out.
Right.
All the way from the East Coast, Miami, the West Coast, Tampa. So that wouldn't have worked as well. But it looks as though this is, the travel is the problem. I mean, they contaminated the Philadelphia clubhouse, so nobody can play there for a week, and it's already a big mess.
So Rob Manfred, the commissioner from Major League Baseball, issued a comment or a statement last either Thursday or Friday and said, if these numbers continue to escalate tomorrow, meaning Monday, he's going to shut everything down.
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs are supposed to play in St. Louis next week, and they're already talking about that being in jeopardy because the Cardinals have some COVID.
And I think that everyone should have listened to Buster Olney, right? He said, hey, listen, it has a 5% chance of starting, 0% chance of concluding. And it seems like he's accurate because a week, what is it, a week and a half, 2 weeks now?
Yeah, barely. A week ago Friday.
A little over a week.
Yeah, and so it's getting out of hand. And the unfortunate thing about this is the fact that you're asking 20-something-year-old, well-paid athletes to abide by rules.
What's the one that didn't show up today?
Well, I mean, Kane is Milwaukee's quit.
Cespedes. Cespedes.
He just said, I'm not coming back.
Right, exactly. And that's the problem, is the fact that you don't know what these players are doing. Well, I mean...
And then they released a statement, we can't find them?
Right, exactly.
Like, are you kidding me?
Exactly. But the point of the matter is the fact that you can't control these players when they leave the ballpark.
No,
that's the problem.
Why they can't leave,
and that's the difference with the NBA is the fact that they're in a bubble and they can't leave. So you have some type of control as far as their movement with these ball players, and hence you see why the numbers are escalating and spiking. Yeah. Hence the Marlins and spreading around the league is the fact that these players. You tell them what to do when they get to the ballpark and how they conduct themselves inside the ballpark during the game. And they're not even following protocol as far as the games are concerned.
That's what I was going to say. They said Manfred basically was blaming them and telling them to stop spitting and this and that. And I'm like, that's your solution to this?
Well, that's part of it. I think Ian Happ with the Cubs said, hey, one way we can control this, and it's what our great mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, and, of course, the governor said, put the mask on. We got the Rewind Sports 60 mask for you. Just check it out. We'll send it out to you. But the point is, Ian Happ said, hey, you know what? Wear your mask. Practice the social distancing as best as you possibly can, and do what you're expected. Wash your hands in the whole 9 yards. Stop spitting. But after he made that statement, you've seen some of the players around the league in the field with a mask on. I think there are a couple of Pittsburgh Pirate players with their mask on. There's some other players around the league wearing their mask or whatever because they simply just don't know. But many of these players they figure, hey, we're in our comfort zone as far as playing, in the ballpark, and so it's business as usual.
Oh boy!
There was one network, the Marquee Network. They showed Anthony Rizzo when he came back. They showed a close up of him, and they showed him spitting.
Yeah.
And I pointed to the television. I'm like, he's not supposed to be doing that.
I mean, at home plate, you got the catcher, the umpire, and the batter, for example. That's really close contact, I'd say. And then the players at the bases and whatnot. But there was one time that I think the bubble didn't work, and that was for Lou Williams, but we won't get
we got a report. The stripper Aries said she did get a dance. She gave a dance.
He got a dance?
Yep.
Lou Williams in the house. He got a left dance.
He's an excellent tipper, too. Ridiculous. Really ridiculous.
We don't condone that type of behavior here in the Rewind Sports 60. But, hey, look, I told you this. And Stephen A. Smith said the same thing. There's no way. And I love my brothers. But in the NBA, them cats, they're not staying. No, it's not happening.
So good.
Hey, Lauren, it's two things they're going to be doing. One way, somehow, they're going to be smoking the weed. They're going to do it. And they're going to find them a little extracurricular activity.
Okay.
Some way, somehow, they're going to do it. You can't expect them to be locked up for 2-3 months and say, hey,
funny.
You can't have no women and you can't smoke that stuff.
2 months, almost.
Yeah.
It's not 3.
Listen,
well, if they go
to the championship.
A few people.
Hey, Lauren.
A few people.
Lauren, I'm here
He should know better.
Listen, Lauren, I'm here to tell you.
He's not 22.
Lauren, I'm here to...
He's very much so needed,
Listen,
and he should be ashamed of himself. And
Lauren, I'm here
that's
to tell
all
you.
it is to it.
I don't know how big your purse strings. I don't know how much you got in your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any of that. It doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. You got a young man, 20s, 30s.
More music, young man.
With a lot of...
He's 33.
Hey, even those young men, come on now. Hey, with a lot of free time, a lot of money, and nothing to do. Hey.
It's going to be a problem.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a problem, and then he rest in peace, John Lewis. It could be a good problem for some. Hey, but...
Not for the Clippers.
Let me tell you something.
Do you think that
yes.
Paul George
yes.
and Kawhi are upset? Like, I'll be mad.
They should be mad, but I think they understand too. Okay. Hey man, you gotta slow down. We're trying to win a championship. Hey man, I had to go get that lap dance. I had to.
No.
Lauren. No. See, everybody's missing the point. Here's the point. Lauren.
I hear you.
What the hell is a strip club doing open in the first place during a pandemic? Hello?
It's more important than a church. Come on.
Are you sure?
Yes.
That's the question I said, wait a minute. Why is there a strip club open in the first place?
See?
I didn't see, but Lou Williams did.
That's where Cespedes was in Atlanta. I'm like, maybe he got in trouble too. Weren't they in Atlanta?
Hey.
When he disappeared?
He disappeared,
this is not
all right.
good.
She's Lauren Cox. He's the marvelous one, Dan Marver. It's Jerry Riles. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation. We had a special guest on tap, and unfortunately, he's unavailable for us. But no worries. We keep rolling. We want you to roll with us. Our number here is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. More in the world of sports coming up right after this short timeout. It's Gabe Salgado with our TR60 scoreboard update from home. Gabe, take it away, buddy.
TR60 Sports Update.
Is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation. The White Sox complete the weekend sweep of the Kansas City Royals today by the score of 9-2. And not only did rookie Nick Madrigal get his first major league hit in Kansas City, he went 4 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs scored as the Southsiders improved to 5-4 on the season. A walk-off RBI single by Javier Baez in the 11th inning gives the Cubs a 2-1 lead over the Pittsburgh Pirates to complete their weekend sweep at Wrigley Field today. Chris Bryant was not in the lineup as he was pulled from last night's start due to a stomach illness, but thankfully his COVID-19 test came back negative this morning. The NBA's restart continued today with Boston prevailing over Portland 128-124 this afternoon. Orlando and Sacramento are getting underway, and Houston plays Milwaukee tonight. As the Blackhawks poured on the offense in their Game 1 playoff win over Edmonton on Saturday, rookie forward Dominik Kubalik set a new NHL record. He became the first player ever to record 5 points in his first career playoff game. Here's what Kubalik had to say about his milestone.
Honestly, I felt really good. Everything went my way, so it's nice, but just the first game, so we gotta keep going.
Kubalik is a finalist for the Calder Trophy, and the puck will drop for Game 2 against the Oilers on Monday night. In today's NHL postseason slate, Boston handles Philadelphia 4-1 in the early game, and tonight has St. Louis taking on Colorado, Columbus against Toronto, and Minnesota playing Vancouver. This update is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation, MEF, empowering the next generation of leaders. Go to monstereducationfoundation.org to learn more. I am Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 Chicago.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
TheRewindSports60.com. TheRewindSports60.com. Relax, reset, rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
Rewind Sports 60.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Please welcome Matt Dumbo.
I'd like to say thank you to all the fans watching at home and all the people making a positive difference in our world right now. We appreciate you. I know none of us need to be reminded about how our day-to-day lives have been affected by the outbreak of COVID-19. So I hope the Stanley Cup playoffs can bring a little normality and peace of mind during all these times of uncertainty. I'll transition topics to a topic that is very important to me, my fellow members of the Hockey Diversity Alliance, and the NHL. During this pandemic, something unexpected but long overdue occurred. The world woke up to the existence of systematic racism and how deeply rooted it is within our society. For those unaffected by systematic racism or unaware, I'm sure that some of you believe that this topic has garnered too much attention during the last couple months. But let me assure you, it is not. Racism is a man-made creation, and all it does is deteriorate from our collective prosperity. Racism is everywhere. Racism is everywhere. And we need to fight against it. On behalf of the NHL and the Hockey Diversity Alliance, we vow and promise to stand up for justice and fight for what is right. I know firsthand, as a minority playing the great game of hockey, the unexplainable and difficult challenges that come with it. The Hockey Diversity Alliance and the NHL want kids to feel safe, comfortable, and free-minded every time they enter an arena. So I stand in front of you today on behalf of those groups and promise you that we will fight against justice. We will fight against injustice and fight for what is right. I hope this inspires a new generation of hockey players and hockey fans, because Black Lives Matter. Breonna Taylor's life matters. Hockey is a great game, but it could be a whole lot greater, and it starts with all of us.
Wow. Wow, Lauren. That was Minnesota's Matt Dumba on Saturday. He became the first NHL player to kneel to the U.S. national anthem when he did so before the opening playoff game between the Oilers and the Blackhawks in Edmonton, Alberta. Dumba knelt at center ice while fellow Black players Malcolm Subban of Chicago and Darnell Nurse of Edmonton each stood with a hand on one of his shoulders. Several teams this week stood together during the U.S. and Canadian anthems, with some players locking arms to show solidarity. With the message "End Racism" on the video screens around him, the Wild defenseman made a passionate speech about racial injustice on behalf of the league and the Hockey Diversity Alliance. Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and the lovely, talented, outstanding Lauren Cox. I got to get your reaction, Lauren. And, of course, marvelous, but Lauren, your reaction once you heard the speech.
Well, the speech, I wasn't that touch moved and inspired by it. He said a couple of justices where it was supposed to be injustice, and I'm like, ooh, yeah. But the overarching issue is on July 31st, before this, Eric Trump praised the NHL players for not kneeling during the anthem. So they're already politicizing this. So, I guess NHL decided, let's scramble and do something. And so, they have Dumba come. I know he's a part of the Diversity Council, which, it's only about 4 people on there. And I feel like we need the right people delivering these messages.
So you feel he was the wrong person?
I want to feel it.
Why was he the wrong person?
Because he was stumbling. He said it was injustice, and he said justice.
I mean, that was
because he's reading something, and I don't feel his heart and soul in it.
Really?
And he is white and Filipino.
Right.
Where was the black person to say it, or at least a white person
next
saying
to
it?
him?
Subban.
Yeah, and no. Well, he should have been talking. Somebody who could have really conveyed this message to that audience that needs to hear it, because, NHL and their diversity has always been a question, at least.
Okay. Marvelous.
Well, obviously it's not like the NBA in terms of the number of black players that participate in the sport. I thought that it was not shocking that Dumba spoke. I thought that his remarks were okay, and and whatnot, and he's certainly, again, First Amendment right to do whatever you want. But I think the NHL felt that was the appropriate thing to do under all the circumstances. Fight against injustice, okay. Recognize injustice, racism. I've always said. We talked about solutions. You talked about a solution for the shootings in Chicago. What is the solution? I've actually offered legislative solutions to different things, but what is the solution? Because in people's minds, no matter what you do, there's still going to be bias. There's no way you can get rid of a bias in a person's head, unfortunately. But obviously, you don't want police killing people either.
No, I think you can get away from a bias, and a lot of times I think it comes from a personal experience. I know that there have been stories over the years where there have been neo-Nazis or skinheads, that hated, anyone that wasn't like them. they had an experience or an encounter with a minority or a black person, and it kind of opened up their eyes to a whole new different world. I'll give you a movie to look. American History X. American History X. With, what's his name? Norton?
Ed?
Yeah. Edward Norton?
Yeah.
American History X. If you haven't seen that movie, go out and get it. Get it on Netflix. Get it. Whatever you have to do. Watch American History X. It's a fantastic movie. It's on Hulu. Thank you, Devin Tingle, for that. It's on Hulu. If you haven't seen that movie, watch that movie. And that character, his perspective on life changed because he had a personal experience. He went from one end of the spectrum as far as hate to the other end of the spectrum as far as caring and loving his fellow man.
Absolutely.
But because he had a personal experience, which changed his bias completely. But go out and get American History X. Oh my God, what a movie. It's a fantastic movie. I think, Lauren, I agree with you that, you want something to be from the heart. You want the real passion to come from it, regardless of whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
In this situation, Black Lives Matter. You want someone who's going to express it.
Black Lives Matter.
Well,
I have to
he's a
disagree
minority
with Dan because I think a conversation can change people's mindsets. I've seen it happen.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I really feel that they need to have the right people conveying this message, because they had an audience. If it was a message delivered in a different way by a different person, maybe that could have opened up the door for some people. People were, we're so happy that he said it, and this was such a great moment. But did it really land a certain way?
Well, here's the deal. It's hard for you and I to answer that question because we are minorities. We're the reason part of the reason this movement is at the heights that it is, because of what's happened to us personally as African American men and women, but also to the African American, the black race, over 400 years of oppression. So we see it, feel it, and experience it differently. But for those such as Dan Marver and Devin Tingle, who are not minorities or black, they see it through a different lens.
Oh, sure.
Here's the surprising thing. We talk about Juneteenth. You and I, we grew up knowing about Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. But once it was brought to the mainstream America, there were many people who are not African American or black who had no idea about Juneteenth.
Absolutely.
So his message, even though for us as minorities, we kind of like, okay, thank you so much. But for the audience, which is primarily white and foreign, right? Now I'm going to say primarily white and foreign. Those were words that needed to be said and heard to be that eye-opener, so to speak. Marvelous,
couple points. You can't see it visually, but I am a minority. Number two, you have to remember that the majority of players that play in the NHL are from Canada. That's another big difference. So...
Yeah, but I mean, as being, you're Jewish. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right? You're not African American or a person of color. Mm-hmm. You've experienced some sort of racism or some sort of prejudice. But if you're walking down the street with Lauren and I, you're not going to be mistaken as being a minority.
Yeah, clearly.
Until you express or share.
Right.
That. Mm-hmm. And that's the big difference. But being non-black, brown, when you heard the message, did it enlighten you in any way? Did it touch you in any way?
The NHL, this message we're talking about?
Yes.
No, it didn't. I didn't find it compelling. I found. Kaepernick would be more compelling, for example. Mm-hmm. So they have that. But I think that it was. I don't know. It might have been that the NHL. And it was behind this. Whether he's a good actor or not, his voice sort of trembled a little bit. So, I guess he's nervous. Right?
Yeah, he's nervous.
He was mixing up justice with injustice. It's like, come on. And he did like two. It wasn't that, I'm not nitpicking, but I'm saying you could tell he was reading a statement versus a black person has really experienced that, which probably was Malcolm Subane right next to him, you know?
Right.
So that kind of threw me off.
I've been told that there are, however, some physical features that do identify Jewish people.
Yeah, there certainly are. We understand that. But here's the deal. I think that because of the audience, again, Lauren, and because of the league, this is something that's unprecedented for, a minority to speak out. And
kneel. When you first sent me the clip, I didn't know that he kneeled. And so when I saw him kneeling, I said, I definitely respect that, but my issue still stands in terms of they should have had a black person.
I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad that the NHL is on the forefront as far as making change and bringing more equality.
Are they really, or is this just what everybody's doing now?
What kind of change?
That's the great question. That's the great question.
Why they throw him up there with that speech that they gave him? It's like.
They had to do something. So you're saying he was a token representative of the National Hockey League? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say that. I just said
I thought of that.
Or somebody else.
I thought of that.
Well, here's the thing.
It didn't touch Dan, so we ain't doing a good job.
Well,
that particular one, there are others, but not him.
Yeah, let's go out to our phone lines. Tommy calling from Chicago is joining us on the Rewind Sports 60. Tommy, how are you, man? Are you there?
First of all, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me, sir?
There you go. What's going on, Tommy? How are you?
Okay. Very quickly, I tune in to you guys now because I really enjoy the satire between the three of you and the chemistry and also the information about sports. But let's be clear about one thing. There are certain conversations that we should not even embark on or get into because it's a broken record. Ever had that song that you liked very well until it got to that same point and then it just got stuck? So what difference does it make if you kneel and when you stand up, it's still the same thing? The bottom line to where we are right now is simple. We're in a world health crisis, and that alone would bring morality back to the conscious mind of any hater to recognize and understand that, well, wait a minute, I hate this color so bad. But guess what? I can die from the same thing, too. So my point on all of this is pretty simple. You want to stop all this stuff? Cut it out. That's all you got to do. But the reason why you won't cut it out is because then you have to repair what you've done. And so one last thing. I was watching the Lakers and the Raptors, and really, guys, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get used to all of this, man. But I'm just like, really? I mean, it's like the whole camaraderie of the game where the people could spur the underdog on or give that team that was down that spark to come back and stuff. It's just like now, man, it's just like watching some guys play pickup ball in a gym, except for they all neatly dressed in NBA uniforms.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I love you guys.
Hey, real quick before you go, Tommy, thank you so much. We appreciate you and we love you too. Real quick before you go, you're a lifelong Chicagoan. What side of town you grew up on?
I grew up on the south side.
Okay, south side. So one of the most famous playgrounds in Chicago basketball history is Cole Park. All the basketball legends, they played at Cole Park because that's where you go to showcase your talents. And you say, hey, man, I can hang with the boys. You know how many people would stand at Cole Park all day long and watch the Hoopers come and go, come and go, come and go. That's what we're watching with this NBA hub down in Orlando. They don't have people in the stands. They got the virtual screen or whatever. But basketball fans are watching these Hoopers because they're the best in the world. And so I would hope that you would embrace that from a pure basketball standpoint.
Wait. Let me try to help you out.
Yes, sir.
See on the west side there was a little gymnasium called the Boys Club, where all the elites went all throughout the city Southwest. If you were a baller, you know where all these places were. There's one right over behind the Museum of Science and Industry where they all went.
Right.
But let me just try to be clear about one thing. See, first of all, because we as moral-minded people have not stopped and said there's something that's really, really wrong that thousands of people are dying, and maybe we just need to pause for a moment and straighten that out. We seem to believe and think we can just go on about our lives, and then come up with a new narrative. Well, this is the new this is the new that. The whole camaraderie of sports, as you said, was the ability to go and watch these guys. When I see them now, I see all of these slogans and I see all of this stuff, and I say to myself, man, really? Seriously, guys? If we want to stop what's going on, then first of all, you have to do what Michael Jackson said and be the person that looks in the mirror. And second of all, you have to recognize and understand and stop lying to yourself and try to act like because you're not black that you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And again, I love you guys, and I tune in every Sunday, and thank you for letting me get that out.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and don't be a stranger, but you certainly are.
I was going to ask Tommy, did you understand the cut it out part? I kind of couldn't follow that.
Yeah, I mean, he cut it out means stop it.
Stop what?
Stop the. Well, I think he's saying stop trying to put, and no pun intended, but stop trying to put a mask on something that, you're covering up the reality of life, of where we are today. Mm-hmm. So I think with the NBA, I think with sports in general, we're trying to get back to our normal way of life. And by starting these games up, and we see how they're falling to the wayside, it's similar to putting a mask on to pretend that there's nothing real happening in this world. And I think that's what he means, say, hey, cut it out.
A distraction, maybe?
It's a distraction. So he's saying, hey, stop it. Let's address the issue. So if I have a broken arm,
stop the games. I mean,
yeah. I mean, he wants to stop everything and say, hey, let's focus on life and get past this thing before we get back to fun and games, more or less. In my opinion, the way I interpret it. Okay. Is that what you see?
Well, absolutely. And the whole thing is money. This is what this is all about. Yeah. They're not, the sports bring everybody together. Right. No, it's economics.
It doesn't matter how many people in the stands, it's the TV.
And the advertising.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, that's all it is. And, I do definitely agree in terms of we definitely need to stay focused. We got to stay focused.
I think the problem is, he said cut it out. And like Michael Jackson, the man in the mirror, I think the big problem is, it's at the end of the day, it's fear. I think it's a human nature. It's fear of the unknown. And that's where we are. And that's why some people embrace it and they accept it and they welcome it. Other people, they try to run and scatter from it because fear is a powerful emotion, and it could be manipulated and manipulate people. And I think that's where we are. And that's why we're distracted and scrambling because of fear. Lauren, we didn't get to the 3 keys.
God. Yes.
You got it real quick?
Well, I mean, we talked about basically most of it, the NFL. A bunch of players, a half dozen of the Patriots basically are opting out. Eddie Goldman, Bears defense, essentially,
yes,
opted out as well. So eager to see how all of this is going to unfold with the NFL. But we see what's happening with the NBA.
We'll get it more next week. My apologies. Marvelous.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody, don't go to high school football games in 4 weeks. They're not going to play till March.
Yeah, they'll be in March. Thanks to Devin Tingle, our producer, outstanding producer. Thanks to both of you, and thanks to our callers. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation. It is the Rewind Sports 60. Gabe Salgado, TR60 scoreboard update. Take it away, buddy.
TR60 Sports Update.
It's been a newsworthy week for the Bears as they prepare to head into their second week of this year's modified training camp. Earlier this week, nose tackle Eddie Goldman chose to opt out of this season due to concerns over the coronavirus pandemic. And since then, 3 players in the form of defensive lineman John Jenkins, running back Artavius Pierce, and tight end Eric Saubert have been placed on the league's COVID-19 test because they either tested positive or they are quarantining due to potential exposure to the virus. This update is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation. I'm Gabe Salgado, and this is the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 Chicago.
TheRewindSports60.com. 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 Relax, reset, rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
With you, so you can go ahead.
Dylan, question for you. Not only in the exhibition game were you able to create a goal with some forechecking, but a pivotal one yesterday in game one. How important is that in not only your game, but on that line with some skilled guys alongside you?
Yeah, I think it's important. You know, we're trying to get the puck in deep. Obviously, it's playoff hockey, so trying to limit the turnovers and getting on the forecheck. So we did that a couple times yesterday, and we're able to manage some good pressure. But it was nice to find one there and bank it in. So obviously, it's a good start for us.
Our next question comes from Charlie Rameliotis from NBC Sports Chicago. Charlie, your line's active, and you can go ahead.
Hey, Connor, it's obviously no secret how good Edmonton's power play is. Where were the breakdowns happening in your eyes yesterday, and what kind of corrections can you guys make outside of the obvious of staying out of the box?
Yeah, they know how to find each other. All their guys on that top unit, and they've been top PP most this year. So I don't think there's really one specific thing, but I think we'll look back at some more video either later today or tomorrow morning to prepare for that. And obviously, it's not the kind of game we wanted with how a lot of those power plays ended up. They're able to find a lot of that middle guy or even the cross team that kind of put us out of sorts a couple times, and then a little bit scrambly after that. So we'll just hopefully adjust.
We'll now go to John Dietz from the Daily Herald. Again, attention media, if you could please address your question to either Connor or Dylan, that would be appreciated. Thank you. John, your line is active. We'll come back to John in a second here. We'll go to Phil Thompson from the Chicago Tribune. Phil, your line's active, and you can go ahead.
This is for Dylan. I just want you to kind of express what Drake brought to the the team and what it would mean if, worse happens and he faces some discipline for the hit?
Yeah, he's a great player for us. He works hard every single shift. He lays the body. He gets it done at both ends of the rink. He's penalty killing now a little bit, and I think he does whatever it takes. He's a great playoff player and a great guy to have on your team. So hopefully there's no supplementary discipline, and hopefully Ennis is okay. I think I'm not sure if he went off because of that or it was a cut on his hand or something like that. So hopefully there's no discipline. I thought the play turned into a power play for us, so the refs didn't see it as a penalty, and hopefully the NHL doesn't as well. But we'll see what happens. We're going to try not to let it affect us too much, and whatever the league's decision is, we'll have to deal with that and move on to game 2.
Our next question comes from Mark Lazarus from The Athletic. Laz, your line's active, and you can go ahead.
Connor, you and Calvin DeHaan didn't get a whole lot of time to play together this year, and then even in Phase 3, you guys were in and out of the ice there. How do you feel you did, and how much time does it usually take to really develop a partnership?
I think it's been great playing with Connor. I think the games weren't as hard defending against St. Louis or Edmonton so far, just because of how great as a team we played together and limited a lot of their kind of speed and offense. So overall, it's just it's always nice playing with a veteran guy who's so smart and predictable out there and communicates a lot. And I feel like me and Hunter have a good relationship even off the ice that kind of leads us to playing smoothly together when we're out there. So I don't think it takes long to develop any sort of chemistry, especially since the team's been together all year, whether there's injuries or not. So it's definitely nice to be paired with him.
We'll now go to Chris Bowden from WGN Radio. Chris, your line is active, and you can go from there.
Hi, guys. Thanks for doing this. Dylan, I guess I'll ask you this, but if Connor wants to jump in as well and either object or agree, feel free. But Brandon said something after the game last night about the team morale and kind of spirit being at as high as he has ever seen it. I know that can change with whatever the next game result is, but have you guys sensed a different kind of higher level of camaraderie with this new opportunity you've been given after the break?
Yeah, I think it's I think we've been a close team all year. We love to hang out, and there's really no bad blood or animosity on the team. I think everyone's good friends, and we enjoy being around each other. I think the bubble's only bringing that in closer. So we're hanging out a lot, playing some cards, playing video games, watching hockey. So I think it's just I think it helps getting off to a win against St. Louis too. It's obviously the team morale is obviously higher when you win. So obviously 2 wins to start is a great way to start, and hopefully we can keep following that up.
We'll now go to Ben Pope from the Chicago Sun-Times. Ben, your line is active. You can go ahead.
For Dylan, you faced Smith and Koskinen for each about half the game yesterday, and they have pretty different styles as goalies. How do you sort of prepare for not knowing which one will start tomorrow, and what's sort of the tactic to go about with each of them?
I think we have our notes on both of them. We actually didn't know who was starting until warm-ups yesterday, so I think they kept that pretty uptight with their team, and that we had no idea. So I think just prepare like you're playing either one. Obviously, like you said, both are different. Both have great strengths, and they're both great goalies. You see with their numbers this year. So we did a good job, I think, of getting traffic on Smith yesterday, and finding ways to get it past them. I'm not sure you can really fault him on many of the goals. A couple back doors and a couple tips and that one timer by Kubi. So, I mean, those are pretty tough goals to stop for anyone in the whole league, I think. So, it's going to be I'm not sure who's going to start, like you said, for a game 2, but just going preparing like either one could start, and I think we'll go from there.
We'll now go to Scott King from NBC Sports Chicago. Scott, your line's active. Go ahead.
This is for Dylan. It would have been easy for you guys to hang your head and let Edmonton get some momentum after that first power play goal, and obviously you led the charge with your goal. What can you say about the way you guys answered back, and was it surprising at all for you?
I don't think it was surprising. I feel like we've been a team that's been pretty resilient all year. Maybe too many ups and downs, but I feel like that maybe prepared us well for this kind of format. I think we know anything can happen, and they showed that at the end of the game with 2 quick goals, and it kind of got pretty close there at the end with the goalie pulled. So, I feel like we played well, and they got off to that good start in the power play with too many men calls. So I think the biggest thing for us is just staying out of the box. We obviously see how lethal their power play is and how much damage it can do. So take penalties as needed and maybe to prevent a goal or to save a goal. But it was nice to get obviously 4 in the first period there. So that was a great start for us, and found a way to take a 3-goal lead after the first period is always good.
We'll go back and try again with John Dietz from the Daily Herald. John, your line is active. You can go ahead.
Hey guys, this question's for Connor. A little bit lost maybe in yesterday was just the fact that Jeremy got his first victory as an NHL coach. I'm just curious, was there a moment when he came in and you kind of said to yourself, okay, he gets it, he's going to be a good coach in this league? And then maybe if you can just run down what you think his strongest qualities are as a coach.
You mean his first playoff win, obviously?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, it was great. I think he's been good ever since he stepped in. I think we've kind of been playing freely offensively, and then it took a little bit of time for us to start to adapt some of the systems defensively and through neutral zones and things. But it's just kind of been harped on by him about the process of getting better as a team every day, and that it'll take time, and keeping a positive attitude since day one, since he's been here. He's definitely had that positive attitude with us about just trying to continue to get better, and understanding that losses can be taken into learning moments, and to try to just continue to grow at a team and not get down and be able to play with confidence. So that's something that he stayed really consistent, which is impressive. It's hard, I imagine, as a coach to not let the emotions get the best of you sometimes when we're not playing up to par. So that's been impressive, and it's been fun to see us to be able to come back and be able to come together and have a good training camp and start with a couple wins. So that's obviously what they'd be looking for, but they're on us still today to make sure that we're pushing forward and know that we can't just stop there, obviously.
We'll go back to Phil Thompson from the Chicago Tribune. Phil, your line's active. You can go ahead.
Dylan, I wanted to come back to you real quick. I think I jinxed things because just as soon as you finished your statement, the league issued that Kajula is suspended for a game. So I wanted to give you a chance to update that, and also ask you how you think the Oilers might respond. They said in their comments that they needed to simplify things. It seemed like they kind of settled down in the third period. So those 2 things.
I think, like I said before, Drake's an important player for us. So, obviously sucks for him to be out for a game. We got a lot of guys here that can step in and hopefully kind of try to emulate what he does. He's a guy that, like I said, 200-foot player and hits a lot of bodies and finds a way to get some chances and create some momentum for us. So he's an important player. Like I said, we have a lot of depth here, so hopefully it doesn't take too much wind out of our sails. But he's a great player, so it's gonna be tough to have him without him for a game.
Connor, Dylan, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon. Media, if you could hold the line, we will get to you as soon as possible. Our first question today will come from Charlie Remeliotis from NBC Sports Chicago. Charlie, your line's active, and you can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy, we just saw the news drop that Drake won't be available tomorrow. Just what your thoughts on the hit and who potentially could step in and replace him on the third line?
Yeah, I think feel bad for Jules. He's of course been he's excited about this series, playing his old team. It was kind of a bang play. We went hard and I don't think he definitely wasn't trying to catch him in the head, but he did. And so the NHL made the decision, and we'll, of course, we wish we had Jules in lineup, but we won't, and we got to find a way to someone's going to go in and make a difference. I don't know who it's going to be yet. We haven't decided. I think it's also kind of established the standard for what how they're going to deal with those types of hits. As the series goes on and as the other series goes on, I'm sure it's going to get a little more physical. So now we know.
Our next question is from Ben Pope from the Chicago Sun-Times. Ben, your line is active. You can go ahead.
When you get a chance to sort of reflect on the game yesterday and maybe watch back a little bit of video, what were your takeaways and what maybe adjustments might you make heading into game 2?
Well, I think we did a good job of getting the puck in, skating the puck in, establishing zone time and holding it down there. And we were able to break through and get some chances during those situations, but that also helps us defensively. So 5-on-5, I think we did a pretty good job. They broke through on the power play, so they got some really good players and they've been dangerous all year. So we'll continue to work on that and make it a focus. A lot of it was just loose pucks around the net. Didn't get it clear a couple times, and typically those end up in the back of your net. So we know we want to stay out of the box as much as we can and play a 5-on-5 or a game on the power play, and that'll be a focus for us.
We'll now go to John Dietz from the Daily Herald. John, your line's active. You can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy, this doesn't quite pertain too much to yesterday, but I was talking to Taves in January, and he says that, you're a statistically driven coach at times, but he was impressed with how over time you kind of went with your instincts and coached the game as you saw it unfolding. Do you feel like you've gotten better at that in the NHL? And is it just you're just more willing to trust your gut, or you've just gotten to know the league better? Just kind of wondering about that.
I don't think my approach has changed. I think we've been better as a team. And that's something it's a process. We're have an idea of how we want to play. And, our guys, I think, have really embraced sort of what we feel is our recipe to win. And it's fun we want to compete. We want to play big games like we are now. And thought they had a really good performance yesterday. But that, it's just, we got to keep building. So as a staff, there's more and more data that we are presented with, and it's our job to sort through it. But ultimately, you gotta go with what you see on the ice, and we'll keep doing that.
Our next question is from Phil Thompson from the Chicago Tribune. Phil, your line's active. You can go ahead.
Thanks. So, Jeremy, with your first postseason win, did they commemorate the occasion like with a cupcake? And when you were starting out on this journey, did you envision these kind of strange circumstances that you would be getting your first win?
I don't think anyone foresaw where we are now. If they had, they sure kept quiet, kept us all in the dark. It's we're making the best of the situation. We had the chance to play in the playoffs, and we're excited about the opportunity, and we won one game. And now it's kind of in the past, and we're had a meeting today, and it's all about game 2 and understanding the challenge that's ahead of us. They're an excellent team that's going to respond. I'm sure they got a lot of confidence in that room that they have what it takes to win, and they are going to be better on Monday. So we're going to need to improve too. And that's got to be the only thing we're thinking about.
We'll now go to Scott King from NBC Sports Chicago. Scott, your line's active. You can go ahead.
It was DeHaan's first game back in a while officially. Obviously, just wanted to see what you thought of how he played in there.
Yeah, very solid. More and more comfortable here as he gets more times on the ice, and together with Murph. They haven't played together a whole lot. It seems like a natural fit, but with just the injuries both guys had, Murph was injured a lot during the beginning of the season, and DeHaan obviously the whole second half. So they haven't had the chance to play together that much. So now we have them together, and I think they'll get better and better here as we go. And they were solid for us.
Go back to Ben Pope from the Chicago Sun-Times. Ben, your line's active, and you can go ahead.
Jeremy, what did you learn about Smith and Koskinen from yesterday's game, and then not knowing which will start tomorrow? What's sort of the best game plan to prepare for that?
Yeah, they're not the same goaltender, but there's some similarities. Ultimately, we got to make sure we got people in front. That's how a lot of our goals are going to be scored in the playoffs here. So making sure that we got not just one, but another player on the way to the net, getting those deflections and rebounds, and then recovering pucks to sustain the zone time. So there's no secret there as far as what we're trying to do, and whoever they start, we'll be ready to go.
Our next question is from John Dietz from the Daily Herald. John, your line is active.
Hey, Jeremy, I just want to go back to Kajula for a second. Some people might say, outside people may say, third line forward, not that big a deal to lose somebody like that. But what does it mean to you guys to lose Drake for one game?
Yeah, well, he provides an element that we don't have a lot of, just physical and gritty player, likes to go to the net, likes to, get in those 50-50 situations, and he can kind of do different things. He's killed penalties for us. He's played up and down the lineup. So he's a big part of our team. We'll get him back, but for tomorrow, that's an opportunity for someone else, and that's what playoffs are all about. You find a way to get wins with what you have.
We'll go back to Phil Thompson from the Chicago Tribune. Phil, your line's active.
Jeremy, I just want to check that there were no adverse effects with Crawford. And also, I'm sure, reviewing the game, you found some things to nitpick, the teacher team, if you could share any of those.
Yeah, Crawford's fine. We know there's areas we can be better. I thought as good as we played, we give them, there's some opportunities where we give them some momentum or just, transition chances. Even the one power play goal they scored, we go down, we had kind of a 2-on-2 mini chance, and they go the other way. We just got to be aware that they're top guys. They want to keep their speed and go play kind of a back and forth game. And, we want to have quick transition for our offense, but we want to make sure we're on top of them when the play goes the other way. So that's something we'll continue to work on.
Jeremy, thank you for your time this afternoon. Media, thank you very much for your time. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good morning, guys. You have Coach Nagy here. You also have Andre Tucker, our head athletic trainer, who's also our infectious control officer. Just to start off, obviously a big part of the summer months has been prepping for our players to arrive back at House Hall. We feel very fortunate to have a new state-of-the-art facility. Honestly, we feel like we have a major advantage in just the sheer amount of square footage we have. And we've been very creative with how we maximize our space to create the safest work environment possible. Really taking the league protocols and then going above and beyond, with the whole idea being farther and fewer, the safer. We understand no one can eliminate all risk. It's about mitigating risk, and we feel like we're doing that. Now, on top of that, it's about continuing to educate our players and staff on how their actions away from the facility affect all of us. We can have the best measures in place here at Hallis, but it's also the responsibility of every one of us to take the proper actions away from the facility to ensure we're protecting each other. Obviously, it's not going to feel normal because it isn't normal, but I am proud of how we've adapted to this point, and we'll continue to adapt and adjust as needed throughout the season with the health and safety of our players and staff top of mind. Guys, the amount of effort that has gone into this has been tremendous. So the collaboration between George, Ted, Matt, myself, the training room, our doctors, building operations, equipment is something we're all very proud of. I'd like to specifically mention Andre Tucker, who we have here on this call, and also Liz Geis, our HR director, just for the passion and energy they continue to put towards this. Look, we know the challenges we have in front of us. It's our responsibility to do everything we can to minimize risk and take the necessary steps when positive cases occur. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Andre. He's going to touch on everything we have in place. He'll touch on the protocols we're operating with. Andre can answer any questions you guys have afterwards, and then Matt and I will pick it back up from there. So go ahead, Andre.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Before I get going, I want to go ahead and send some thank yous. Also, I want to thank my assistants, my seasonal interns, Bears medical docs, Liz Geis, like Ryan mentioned, the Bears Return to Work Committee, Ryan, Matt, Ted, and George. These individuals that I just mentioned have been unbelievable and supported me throughout this process, and I appreciate that. So many of you may ask, how did we get here? So back in March, at the league level, some committees were formed and a plan was formulated with the idea of how we're going to return to work and to play in a safe manner. Within those committees, the ICO, Infection Control Officer, was created. As Ryan mentioned, I am the ICO for the Bears. Some of you may ask, what is the responsibilities of the ICO? So for me, with the Chicago Bears, I'm the first point of contact should any club employee with new symptoms suggested of COVID infection. I need to be the one that's notified. Communication within the organization to the Return to Work Committee and the Infectious Response Team. I also oversee the implementation of the club screening protocol. I'm the club primary liaison for the NFL. I oversee the cleaning and disinfection program for the facility. This is to ensure that we're meeting the CDC and ICS guidelines. I also oversee making sure that we have the appropriate signage within the building regarding health policies and COVID-19 best practices, such as stopping the spread of germs and guidance on COVID-19-like symptoms. With some of the information I just went over, I want to talk to you a little bit about the daily screening and what goes into that. So all employees and everyone that comes to Hallis Hall has to go through a daily screening process. You wake up in the morning, you check your temperature twice. Your temperature needs to be 100.4 or lower. If you meet that criteria, you're going to go ahead and log into our Bears daily screening questionnaire. It's app-based. It's about 4 questions. If you answer those questions appropriately, you'll be granted access to come into Hallis Hall. At this point, you're issued what we call a Bears Day Pass. It's color-coded with a date and a specific ID that's associated with you. If you don't answer those questions appropriately, I'm immediately notified, and at this point, we review all questions on a case-by-case basis. Once you arrive at Hallis Hall, you'll park at your associated parking spot. You're then going to go over to our bio-reference trailer. This is a trailer that's located on Hallis Hall's property. Inside the trailer, you have a check-in station. After you leave the check-in station, there's 5 testing bays. These bays have the ability to do PCR testing and antibody testing. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes per person. After testing, you're going to leave the trailer and head over to our player and football entrance. So let's take a moment for a second, and something I want to explain to you guys. So with all these meetings, we looked at all of our high touch points. So you can imagine the front entrance door, there's people coming in and out, right? So any of the high touch areas, we wanted to make touchless. What does that mean? So as you walk up with your badge, you're going to scan your ID that then automatically opens the door for you. The door opens, you don't have to touch the handle to be able to get in. You walk in, to your right, you've got PPE. So you've got your mask, your hand sanitizer, and gloves. Just a few short steps, we've got our thermal mirroring facial recognition scanner set up. That's to check your temperature one more time before you enter the building. If your temp is below 100.4, you're then allowed to walk down the hallway to our Connexon proximity reader station. As you can see, I'm wearing one right now. We all have to wear it while we're in the building. You're given those readers. So you may ask, what are these devices? They're actually pretty neat. So this device, proximity reader, records the distance and duration between individual devices. This gives us real-time information should someone become positive within the building or during NFL business, such as team travel, hotel, bus, or plane. At that point, you're then clear to enter the building and go about your day. Some of the things we also had to go into was redesigning our current spaces so that we meet the CDC and physical distancing guideline. Some of our high traffic areas, such as your cafeteria, locker room, training room, weight room, and meeting rooms, just to name a few areas, are the places we really focused on and making sure we were meeting the physical distancing guidelines. So let's talk about the cafeteria. So you walk in the cafeteria, all the tables are spaced out along with the chairs. Buffet style is not permitted. Everything is individually wrapped and pre-packaged. Signage throughout the cafeteria and floor markings are used to remind everyone flow of traffic and how to appropriately space out. Inside our locker room, for most of you on this call, you probably gotten a tour last year. We have a pretty elaborate locker room, plenty of space. What we've decided to do was extend our locker room into our player lounge. So we've created additional locker room space and lockers. We even redesigned how our players are going to be using their showers. So every other shower will be turned off and the showers that are accessed are appropriately spaced out. We went ahead and put plexiglass and partitions between our urinals. Inside the athletic training room, moving forward, treatment and rehab will be done by appointment only. Plexiglass and partitions are between our taping tables and our rehab equipment. Like I said, in the locker room and the cafeteria, there's signage and floor markings throughout these spaces to remind the players and staff how to appropriately space out in athletic training room and the hydrotherapy room. So let's talk a little bit about our weight room. So one of the league mandates and guidelines for players, we can't lift more than 15 at a time. One of the good things about our space in our campus, we have so much space, we're able to actually have a second weight room, which will be in our Walter Payton Center. This gives us the ability to lift two groups safely at the same time. All players will have their own assigned racks, which they will use during training camp. During the lift, they'll also be assigned their own equipment, such as stretch bands and lacrosse balls. There's signage once again throughout the weight rooms, both at the Walter Payton Center and over here at our Hallis Hall building, reminding each and every one of us the flow of traffic and how to space out appropriately. The last area I want to touch on is our meeting rooms. So we rearranged most of our rooms to allow for physical distancing with the number we felt was comfortable for the players. If a max number was 20 in a specific room, Coach and Ryan wanted us to cut that in half. Our team room this year, because it's such a big group, will be held in the Walter Payton Center. This will have chairs and tables and video monitors. All players will be assigned their own chairs and tables. With that, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Okay, thanks, Andre. We'll go ahead and open up for questions for Andre only. Once again, if you have a question, please use the raise your hand tool and I'll call on you individually. We'll start with Pat Finley. Go ahead, Pat.
Hey, Andre, thanks for this.
Sure, no problem.
Hey, what effect did the Marlins outbreak have on you guys in the industry?
That's actually a good question. So one of the advantages we've had over the last few months, we've been able to watch other leagues. You know, we're all unique in our own ways, and I think we can learn from others' experiences. So I think it's something we as a club and at the league level, we closely watch.
Did it scare you?
No, didn't scare me at all.
Colleen Kane, go ahead.
Yeah, Andre, I was curious, what are the logistical challenges of housing like rookies and other training camp players that don't have permanent housing in the area yet? What goes into making sure the hotels are safe for them?
Sure, good question, Colleen. So we're actually, for the rookies, they're staying at a hotel not too far from Hallis Hall. We've put plans in place. Things that we've done here at Hallis Hall, we've implemented on all the player floors. So proper signage, educating players on what to do. Because part of all this, like Ryan mentioned, the more you can educate everyone, the more they're comfortable with, risk mitigation. So we've done a nice job in educating the groups of players that we've already onboarded into our quote unquote bubble. In helping them feel comfortable staying outside of or being outside of Hallis Hall.
Go ahead, Hub.
Andre, have any of the players come to you for any kind of guidance or conversation about their decisions, whether to participate or to opt out?
No one's come to me specifically with those questions. Like with any of my players or any of our players here at the Bears, we're always in constant communication with them. It's not just with COVID, but it's anything related to their health individually or with their families. So we're always a resource for those guys.
Go ahead, Dan.
Andre, you obviously stressed the education piece of this puzzle. When you have sort of gotten your arms around this, what have been the keys to you in not only passing along the necessary information so that everyone understands the best practices, but also stressing that shared accountability, that everyone's interactions sort of affect everyone else's in making sure that the whole building can stay safe?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dan. So we can eat what we like to do, or what most people do, is you kind of focus on in-house. What we've done with the Bears, it's not just the people that are in the building, it's also their families and people that are going to be involved and around them through the 2020 season outside of the building. We're planning on addressing this with all players, all staff, anyone involved on the football aspect, along with their families. It's very important from an educational standpoint that you kind of calm down some of the anxieties of the unknown. So I think that's where education is key. The more you know, the more you can make a sound and long-lasting positive decision. It doesn't just affect us in the club, it also affects your family. So that's important that we encompass everybody in this decision, because we need them just as much as they need us. It's a family approach here. We realize it's not just all about us. It's about the people that's around the players and support staff as well.
JJ.
Andre, what's the chain of command with you as the ICO if you are alerted to a violation of the protocols either inside the building or outside the building?
So that's where the return to work committee comes into play, also with Ryan and Coach. If there is a violation, we get together and we address it case by case.
Steve Leventhal.
Yes, Andre, thanks a lot. What protocols or considerations are being taken into account for players that might have come from California or the Southeast where they're hot zones at the present time?
So that's where the testing comes into play. This is something that was vetted and thought out from the league level. So all players and staff members are under strict testing guideline and protocol. And with all that considered, coming from states like California, Arizona, for example.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Andre, have you had virtual meetings with the guys about coronavirus protocols? And if so, what's been in it? Is it more or less what you just told us, or are there other things that you want to get across to them before things get started up here?
Sure. So that's also part of the league mandate, is having player virtual meetings along with their families. We're going to do it all together. We think that's important. By separating it, sometimes you get questions or concerns that don't get addressed. So I think if we address it all at once, we have the ability to learn from questions that others may be asking. At times it's hard too. You may want to ask a question that you don't feel is appropriate. We're trying to make this situation as comfortable as possible. For me, the biggest part is education, because the unknown can be scary.
Stacey Dales.
Hey, Andre, thank you for your time. My question is, what's the protocol or plan in place if a family member, could be a child, could be a spouse, contracts coronavirus? How are you dealing with the player or the personnel member, and sort of what's the procedure moving forward for that individual?
So Stacy, that's another good question. So that also falls into education. Part of it too is planning, right? Some of the things we're going to address is let's not wait until this affects your family. Planning ahead. What does it look like should a family member in your household becomes positive? Do you have a place in your house where you're able to isolate that individual, whether it's your child or your husband or your wife? And then do you have like a bathroom too? Also, what does it look like for groceries and things of everyday things you may not be able to think of? I think the more we vet that out ahead of time, that will help everybody plan accordingly, and it eases some of that anxiety. But we do have, if someone needs to get tested, that's also been vetted, and we have something in place should a family member become positive or suspected to be positive.
Sorry, everyone. Dan Weeder, go ahead.
Andre, two quick questions. Obviously, a big part of the testing process is being able to get the results turned around in a day or less. Do you know where your samples are being sent to be processed and how quickly those will be turned around? And then on top of that, knowing that there are going to be positive tests that come up, what gives you confidence in the troubleshooting process and the protocols that the league and the PA have established to deal with a positive test?
Sure. So I'll answer the first part of your question and then tie it into the second part. So all the testing is done here. It's then sent off to a local lab. I believe it's over in Minnesota, so it's not far. And so we get the test results pretty fast. So there was 60 companies, just to give you a little bit of background from the league level, from a national testing pool. There was about 60 laboratories that the league looked at. They decided to go with BioReference because BioReference assured us that we should be able to get results within 24 hours. They've done an amazing job up to this point. We're a week in right now of testing. So I'm confident that we'll get the results that we need to should we have a positive case. And what's amazing and actually been phenomenal so far is that everyone's adapting, right? Like as you go through this, we're making it better each day. Our testing is getting better. The reporting process has gotten better. So I'm pretty confident that we've got a good plan in place, both here with the Bears and at the league level.
Andy Seligman, go ahead.
Hi, Andre. You've talked about the adjustments being made at the facility, but what measures, if any, are being taken when the players are on the field out there practicing?
So that goes back again to education, right? And you'll hear Coach probably touch on this at some point during the press conference. Fewer and far, right? So the more we can space out, the more we distance ourselves while outside, and then wearing the appropriate PPE such as masks while we're out during practice is important to us, and it's something that Ryan and Coach have stressed thus far.
Colleen, go ahead.
Andre, I was wondering what you could tell us about the face shield that players can wear with their helmets this year, and is it being encouraged by the team?
Yeah, so that is being encouraged. We're waiting for those to be shipped to us. I've seen it, but it's something that's going to be optional to my knowledge right now. It's not something you can mandate. It'll be a bit of an adjustment because some guys aren't used to wearing it, but they've given them a few options should they decide that they want to wear a face shield while they have their helmet on.
Kevin Fishbane, go ahead.
Hey, Andre, thank you for doing this.
Sure, no problem.
Once games begin, obviously a lot of this stuff's out of your hand. Is the hope and understanding that kind of everything you do beforehand gives you at least the confidence that almost everybody out there is negative and is healthy?
Yes. So once again, that falls into the comment Ryan mentioned earlier, risk mitigation, right? So I think at this point, we all have to ask ourselves individually and as a group, what can we do to minimize our risks And once again, I'm confident at the club level and at the league level that we'll have the best plan in place once we start getting ready for games.
Okay, we have time for a couple more for Andre. Start with Pat Finley. Go ahead.
Hi, Andre. I know the league will have a list of things that they don't want players to do, go into crowded places, things like that. Do you have recommendations for your guys about what they should and shouldn't do? I mean, do you want them going to the grocery store if they can avoid it? Are there other places that you just as soon them not hang out?
Yeah. So for me, you don't want to make it so specific or cookie cutter that they now get into a situation where like, shoot, this wasn't addressed. What do I do? I think what I'm going to continue to educate and tell everyone, not just the players, right? Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, the situation you're putting yourself in, is the risk worth the reward? And trust your gut. If you're hesitant about it, don't do it.
And one more for Andre. Dan Weeder, go ahead.
Andre, what was your reaction when Vikings ICO Eric Sugarman and his family were diagnosed with COVID, and who's next in the chain of command in the event that you had to be separated from the facility for an extended period?
Sure. So for Sugarman, I've gone over the years and getting to know Eric very well. Obviously, I wish him a speedy recovery along with his family. It's hard for me to really touch on his situation because I'm not directly involved. But no, it's not something that makes me, nervous or am I worried about. I think we have a good plan in place here. Obviously, my plan moving forward is not to get the virus, and I'm doing what I need to make sure I'm available, for the club, for my family. So for me, and you asked who should be the next person up, that's something we've talked about and addressed internally, and we have a plan in place.
Great, Andre. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, everyone.
He is my man. He's Craig Hodges on our hotline. Craig, how are you? Welcome to the Rewind Sports 60, my man.
I appreciate you, brother. Peace and blessings to you and your listening audience during this crazy time, man. Hope all is well.
Thank you so very much. And I think everybody is trying to stay as safe and well as they possibly can. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation, Craig. You and I have talked many times in the past few years. We don't have much time to talk about so much that's going on, but we appreciate you taking your time on the Mother's Day to join us on our show to talk Last Dance, man. And I believe you've been making your media rounds the past couple of days or whatever regarding your comment that you made. And I got to tell you this. I actually agree with what you said regarding Michael Jordan's comment, I think in episode 3, about the cocaine circus. Because when I heard Michael Jordan, he came into the league and he said he went to the hotel, he was in a hotel when he went to knock on one of the players' door and he heard all this commotion going on and half the team was in there partying. I looked over to my wife and I said, Lise, why is he throwing all these guys under the bus? I swear to you, I said, why is he throwing them under the bus? I go, this is how many years ago, but you ain't got to call these cats out and tell everybody what they're doing. I kind of agree with you on that, man.
Yeah, and for me, it's one of those things where, you have young people excited about the game and family members of people probably looking forward to watching their loved one who played with Michael, watching this, looking forward to watching his documentary, and then it winds up being, as opposed to it being an entertainment, it turns out to be something that's an inquisition of the uncle or dad who played on the team with MJ. So, it was kind of, I thought he could have did something a little more diplomatic. I thought he could have said players that they during that period of time had a lot of fun and, but they came and played hard. It was a way of doing it that he didn't have to throw people under the bus, man.
Yeah, well, they left a lot of tape on the floor. This is what are we saying? There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it to this docuseries, but I was just surprised. But what I do like the fact that Mike is doing in this docuseries, in my opinion, from a spectator's perspective, I think that he's being real. I think that he's, opening up himself to something that he normally hadn't done over the years. So I like that side of Michael to show people, hey, I'm just as real as, any of you guys. I just happen to be this guy that's very talented and had the success. So I do like that aspect of what he's presenting and unveiling in this docuseries.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And like you say, to a degree, it's cool that you get some eye-opening facts and that kind of thing. But at the same time, I feel like at this point in his life and career, I don't, money isn't the issue. I just wonder what is the motivation behind how you throwing people under the bus, man, and just how, like you said, you knew some people aren't going to like you after it's over. I don't know if it's so much from your openness or if it's from you throwing people under the bus from your openness. So for me, it's just a matter of saying, at this point in time, it's a lot of other things that need to be taken care of, and I remind people that this is entertainment, and that we have a lot of things going on within the world and within our communities that we have to, get solutions to, and that's where my mind is. So I'm watching it in somewhat a critique mode, but always with the eye of it being entertainment and commerce involved.
Hey, Craig, this is Dan Marver. I'm in the studio with Jerry. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Great. I loved your book, Long Shot, The Triumph and Struggles of an NBA Freedom Fighter. A lot of good stuff in there. Yeah. Including, of course, the famous White House visit and a number of other things. But I wanted to ask you, being a player and then looking at it, I ask everybody this, and 22 years later, I tell everybody, I just can't believe that it really happened, that they broke the team up. And the last dance, you're going to see, it didn't matter if Jackson went 82-0, Krause said. How can that be? That doesn't make any sense to me.
And then for me, the way I'm looking at this thing is, it's dead man tells no tale, man. So when we look at how much he's been put on Jerry Krause as him being, being the person that did or whatever, and some of that I'm like, how can the general manager outweigh owner? So if the Bulls go 82-0, how could Jerry Riles break it up? That's what I'm looking at more than Jerry Krause.
Well, it's interesting because allegedly, Jerry said, Jerry Reinsdorf supported Jerry Krause, obviously, and said, most of these players, after winning the title, the second three-peat, were on their last leg. And he felt, that was probably the best time to dismantle and break things up because of the grind over, just winning one championship is a grind in its right. And to come back and win a second three-peat, he felt that most of the players on the team that, they didn't have enough left in the tank. So it wasn't a bad business move to make in breaking up the team.
Yeah, and I look at it, I understand where he's coming from, try to get the best bang for your buck, let's have a firehouse sale or whatever you want to call it. But for me, and looking at it, when you understand how to win, you understand how to win, and that you have enough veteran players who have enough left in the tank that you can start to shovel in guys to be able to maintain, the solidarity of a unit that can go out and win. And once again, he rolled the dice, he broke the team up, and haven't won anything since. So it's kudos to breaking up the squad, I guess.
So yeah, so Craig, I know that there was some feelings after you left the Bulls that you were blackballed. What was that all about?
Well, the fact that you can leave the game and be a world champion 2 times over, a consecutive 3-point title, won it 3 times in a row, and have that under your belt, and you're only 32 years of age, and no one would even talk to you. So for me, that was, and then with, Latex Wonder told me that, he had called every team on my behalf, and the only time in his career when teams didn't call him back to see the person, see what he was talking about as far as the player was concerned. And when he saw that, he told me it was time for me to start coaching.
It's interesting. 2-time NBA champion in 91-92, 3-time NBA three-point champion 90-92. Shot over almost 6,000 points, 563 percent from the field, 40% from three-point land. You were more or less the Colin Kaepernick of that era. And I know a little bit of history about, Craig Hodges and who you are as a person off the court. But do you think during that time that, and any time it's important, but do you think during that time when you made the statement, both physically in your attire going to the White House and verbally, because you approached Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson leading up to the championship to say, we need to make a stance. Did you ever think, hey, maybe I need to step back from this, evaluate it, and pick a different time to make my statement?
And that's the thing, man, is that to whom much is given, much is required. And when we get on the professional level, I think we've been blessed to be able to do what we can for less fortunate people, man. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And as far as letting people know what's going on with the struggle of poor people, people of color, and that's what the letter was about. When I went to the White House, it wasn't about trying to embarrass anybody or trying to that the dashiki was a point of protest. That not at all. It was, this is the garment that I'm supposed to wear as a descendant of African people when we go to our regal events, and that was the most important event I've ever went to in my life. And I wanted to make sure that at that time that I was going to be able to represent, that portion of our world that's not being, represented, man. And, being able to do it after winning the championship was a great thing. So for me, it was one of those things that it had to be done. But at the same time, I realized afterwards that it was going to be some repercussions from it. And at the same time, it was going to be something that my family was going to have to struggle through. And at the point of time that I was doing it, I didn't consider that because I felt like my stats and everything else was well enough for me to get another job.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. We're on with the great Craig Hodges, former Chicago Bull basketball player, three-point shooting champion, homegrown product of Chicago. That's the one thing I think that many people, and maybe is that what shied some of the players or some of your teammates away from you, is the fact that, they may privately feel and agree with what you stand for, but to jeopardize their reputation and to jeopardize their livelihood, they say they probably step back and say, hey man, you got to handle this on your own.
Right, and you look at that, and once again, the conversations that I would speak up publicly, players spoke up openly in the locker room and other places, but they wouldn't do it openly to the public. So it's one of those things that it happens, man. And for me, and looking back, I feel blessed to be able to have carried the mantle during that period of time of when it wasn't social media, it wasn't popular, it wasn't an event, so to speak. So it was one of those things that was necessary during that period of time so that, keep the movement going, man, until the next person or persons can pick it up. And that's where we are right now. Everybody has to pull their part, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, I hope that, young folks listening in and can learn a little bit more about who you are as a man and who we are as a people and start doing some good things, some smart things, and doing the right thing. Before we let you go, and we really appreciate you taking time out on this Mother's Day to join us, brother. We really appreciate you and we support you 100%. My question, we had Bill Cartwright on, and we talked about the Last Dance and, of course, the feud between Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. And I don't know if you heard me when we were talking. I said I believe one reason there's a grudge between Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan is the fact that Isaiah, we Chicagoans, man, we love this city, and a lot of us will die, because of what's going on. Isaiah Thomas grew up on the roughest part of the city, that of course the West Side, and Michael Jordan came in here and he became, the beloved figure. And I don't know, man, did Isaiah take a little bit of offense and say, hey, wait a minute, this is my town, I'm the basketball god in Chicago, I earned my stripes on the West Side, man. You can't come in here and gangster this town because this is my town, and I don't care if I'm in Detroit or not.
Yeah, Isaiah, it's one of those things where, like you said, Isaiah from the West Side, and then MJ being somewhat of a carpetbagger coming to take over the West Side, and the people in Chicago embraced MJ right off the right off the plane, man. So it was one of those things where it was going to be a public rivalry for who has the most sentiment and who has the most love coming from Chicago. So I could see Isaiah being somewhat salty, but he had, in all honesty, he understood. I'm sure he understood the fact that, the rivalry between us and Detroit was so heated, and him being on the Detroit teams, that it was going to carry some weight with the Chicago fan and the Chicago populace. So he understands the rabid fans that Chicagoans are. So he just has to come in and get in when he fits in after his career is over, and I think the people of Chicago have accepted him back pretty well.
Well, we love Isaiah. We love Chicago, but the number one question is, the big question is, and we saw in the docuseries, and Michael's like, hey, it wasn't on me. Can you set the record straight? Why was not Isaiah Thomas not on the 92 Dream Team, in Craig Hodges' opinion?
Right. In my opinion, it was just a matter of, the politics of the game at the time. MJ being who MJ was to the game and to commerce worldwide, that he was going to have somewhat of a say. Now, whether or not he said something or Magic or somebody else, that's that multi-millionaire circle that I wasn't in, man. So some of them conversations I wasn't privy to. But from the outside looking in, something was skewed against Isaiah when you look in terms of his body of work over his career. There's no reason that he shouldn't have been on that Dream Team, even to the point where I don't know how you can put Christian Laettner on there, even though that y'all want to put that little college vibration in there like we got amateurs still. This is a pro thing, man. Isaiah should have been on it.
Well, they put Christian Laettner on over, I believe, Shaquille O'Neal.
And even that, I'm just saying, it's some things that it is what it is, man. The politics of the game can be ugly sometimes, and when it gets skewed to a point where you can see obvious things go down, obvious to the point where Isaiah should have been on the team, obvious to the point where I should have been signed after we won 2 championships. So there are certain things in the politics of sport that are ugly, but if you look at it and see it for what it is, you can see through it.
Yeah, you certainly can.
Hey Greg, what are you up to now? I see that your old school, Richie's, is closing down after this year.
Yeah, man. What's so crazy, man, is that my elementary school was torn down. My junior high school, they just tore down and getting ready to rebuild another one. My high school is now closed. I'm like, Long Beach, watch out, man. It's crazy, man. I don't understand it. In Park Ford, the same crazy thing is Rich East is in the center of Park Ford. Yeah. And with it being gone, man, it's going to be something to see how, the community really reacts to that, man.
Yeah. Long Beach better look out, huh?
Yeah, that's what he said. Hey, Craig.
It's yes.
No, hey, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation, brother. We got to let you go, but we certainly don't want this to be the last time. And, of course, it won't be the last time. Any closing remarks before we say goodbye?
Well, I want to thank everybody for their support, and I have a documentary and a feature film coming out from the people who produced the show Black Mirror from Britain. So there's some good stuff coming up, man. I want to thank you for your support, and everybody be healthy and safe during this period of time, please.
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk about the NBA. Thank you so very much with this pandemic and everything, but we'll certainly invite you back real soon to catch up on some other things. Okay, Craig?
Peace.
Stay safe and well, brother. We appreciate you. Greg Hodges joining us on our TR60 hotline, and he said, hey, Isaiah should have been on the team. I still believe, Marvelous.
Yeah.
It's that Chicago thing coming out of Isaiah. But, hey, you know what? It is what it is, the politics involved, and, the last dance.
The Rewind Sports 60.